coming to you live from Seoul. I'm Shin Se-min. But before we get started, these are the stories we're following at this hour. South Korea's number of confirmed coronavirus cases is well over 5,600, with the official death toll at 35. Health authorities have projected that the pace of growth of infected cases will die down a bit. Korea's massive emergency fund proposal worth over $9.8 billion will be submitted to Parliament today for bipartisan support. The extra budget, yet again the largest yet under the Moon administration, will be used to reduce the economic impact of the coronavirus. The IMF has a grim economic forecast. It says the global economic outlook has shifted to more dire scenarios as the coronavirus has spread undetected. It added that it's struggling to calculate the impact of the outbreak. Our starting point this morning, the number of confirmed cases here in South Korea has shot up over 5,600 and the death toll still on the rise. For more on this latest, we have our Kan Hyung-woo on the line for us. So Hyung-woo, while we wait for the official tally from the government, what do we know so far?
Samin, the number of coronavirus patients in South Korea stands at 5,621 according to the latest tallies we have. That's at 293 more confirmed cases after the Central Disease Control Headquarters report as of the stroke of midnight on March 4th. Updated figures on the number of newly confirmed patients are expected to be released later today. With the death toll at 35, the fatality rate of COVID-19 infection in South Korea is about 0.6%. 41 people have been released from quarantine after making full recovery so far. Health authorities say the increasing rate of confirmed cases will not continue.
The reason we have seen lots of new patients for a while is that the virus test results of groups of Shincheonji followers came out continuously. With that, we have 500 and 600 cases piling up. As more Shincheonji followers have been tested for the virus, the number of newly confirmed patients appears to be slowing down.
Now, Daegu has the most number of confirmed cases in the nation with 4,006, followed by the surrounding Gyeongsang-Bukdo province with over 700. According to the Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, 65% of all cases were found to be community-based transmissions across the nation. So the government is urging citizens to keep good hygiene and practice social distancing to prevent further spread of the virus.
And as the coronavirus cases here in the nation soar, dozens of countries across the globe have imposed travel restrictions or bans on South Koreans' entrance to the lands.
That's right, Sam. 95 countries are curbing the entry of travelers from South Korea. 40 of them are denying all foreigners who visited South Korea within the last 14 days. Other countries are isolating travelers from South Korea for up to 14 days on arrival, and/or they have strengthened health checks or suspended the validity of visas. Now, because of such measures, 276 South Koreans have been quarantined in military facilities and healthcare centers in Vietnam. So the South Korean government has sent a team today to negotiate the possible release of the Koreans there and support anyone hoping to return home. Also, starting at 11 a.m. today, travelers flying to the United States from South Korea will not be allowed to get on board if their body temperature exceeds 38 degrees Celsius or they show other symptoms during COVID-19 health screenings at the airport.
All right, Kan Hyung-woo with those latest on the coronavirus cases here. Thank you. South Korea's Prime Minister Chung Se-kyun will deliver a speech this afternoon on the government's almost $10 billion supplementary budget bill to help cushion the economic fallout of the coronavirus outbreak. During the parliamentary session scheduled for 2 p.m. Korea time, the bill will be submitted for bipartisan review. And the rival parties previously have agreed to handle it by the end of the Assembly's current session, which ends on March 17th. And much of the extra budget will be used to upgrade infrastructure, protecting the public from the virus. Now, that includes building more negative pressure isolation facilities and boosting local consumption. This is the administration's fourth supplementary budget and the biggest one yet since President Moon took office in mid-2017. For the speech, the Prime Minister, who has been overseeing situation in the virus-stricken city of Daegu since late last month, will return to Seoul for the day. The country's prime minister this morning said he feels a grave responsibility over the nation's face mask shortage. Speaking during a temporary cabinet meeting, the PM said the government is working to supply medical and quarantine professionals first and make sure to distribute the remaining masks to all Korean people. He added that the government will resolve the unstable supply of raw materials for face masks as fast as it can. And just a day ago, the nation's Food and Drug Safety Ministry said it will be unveiling a set of comprehensive measures this week on the nation's supply of face masks. The measures include a system that would boost manpower at 140 local face mask manufacturers. Now, the additional measures come as domestic demand for face masks shot up exponentially, with long lines forming at pharmacies and government-designated sellers as a number of confirmed COVID-19 patients spiked. The U.S. death toll from COVID-19 has climbed to 11 as of Wednesday, as this virus rapidly spreads around the world. Of the 2 new deaths reported in the U.S. on Wednesday, 1 was in California, the first death outside Washington state. And Los Angeles County has declared a state of emergency, becoming the second place to do so after King County in Washington. American health authorities say there are some 150 known COVID-19 cases across 13 states. Over in Italy, the COVID-19 outbreak surpassed 3,000 infections and 100 deaths as of Wednesday local time. As the virus has now spread to 19 out of the country's 20 regions, the Italian government decided to close all schools and universities until March 15th. France is also witnessing a rapid increase of the coronavirus cases, as it saw 73 new cases on Wednesday, bringing the total confirmed cases to 285. And Hungary has also reported its first confirmed cases, as 2 Iranian students tested positive. The International Monetary Fund is warning that the faster spread of coronavirus erases any chance of more robust global growth in the year of 2020. The UN also expects the virus to disrupt world trade and could especially impact exports. Our Lee Seung-jae with more.
Speaking at a news conference Wednesday, IMF Chief Kristalina Georgieva said the COVID-19 outbreak will wipe out any hope of stronger economic growth in 2020.
We also know that we have a sound financial system, much more resilient than it was before the global financial crisis. However, what we are wrestling with is uncertainty. And that defines our projections, which at this point lead us to state that global growth in 2020 will dip below its last year's levels.
She said the IMF now expects 2020 global growth to be below the 2.9% rate recorded in 2019, and this would represent more than a 0.4 percentage drop from the previous forecast of 3.3% made in January. She added the latest revision comes as the virus spreads rapidly outside China. According to estimates published by the UN Conference on Trade and Development on Wednesday, a slowdown in manufacturing in China is disrupting world trade and could result in a $50 billion decrease in exports across global value chains. According to its estimates, the European Union looks to be most affected by the decline and will lose out on over $15.6 billion in trade. Estimates also show South Korea will be among the most affected, predicting a loss of over $3.8 billion. The sectors hit hardest include precision instruments, machinery, automotive, and communication equipment. However, the report adds the estimated global effects of the COVID-19 outbreak are subject to change, depending on containment efforts or changes to supply chains. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
The Seoul metropolitan government is giving out 200,000 protective face masks to help prevent the further spread of the coronavirus here in the capital. The city government already donated 40,000 masks late last month with the help of local mask producer Filt Corporation, but plans to distribute 160,000 more in March to elderly people who live alone, low-income households, and social service centers. Despite the rapid increase in the number of COVID-19 cases in the country, South Korea's efforts to curb the spread are being praised by many global media outlets. They're impressed by the country's drive-through screening facilities and the tracking apparatus that pins down the travel movements of infected patients. Kim Hyo-sun with more.
The South Korean government's technologically advanced, transparent, and well-funded plans to combat the COVID-19 outbreak have grabbed the attention of the world's media. Many international outlets say Seoul's efforts are miles ahead of the measures put forth by China and Japan, where the entire city of Wuhan was put on lockdown and an entire cruise ship was completely isolated for quarantine, respectively. In an article this week, AFP praised South Korea's advanced health system and free media, describing them as factors that improve the reliability of the statistics provided by the government. The country's drive-through screening facilities that enable safer and faster testing were also reported on by many international media outlets. Quoting experts, CNN reported that such an innovative way of testing limits the exposure of frontline workers, as the tests are done in minutes, while passengers never have to get out of the car. The Wall Street Journal praised how the South Korean government effectively tracks those who have been infected. Explaining that the government uses mobile phone data, credit card records, and surveillance camera footage to pin down their movements, it added it's definitely one of the most ambitious tracking systems in Asia. U.S. Ambassador to South Korea Harry Harris also said on Wednesday that he was impressed by Seoul's efforts.
We're very impressed with all that Korea is doing, comprehensive measures to test and to take steps to prevent the spread of COVID-19.
He added that South Korea is taking the lead in the global fight against the outbreak. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
In other news, former New York City Mayor and billionaire Mike Bloomberg pulled out of the Democratic Party's presidential race on Wednesday after suffering a string of defeats on Super Tuesday. The 76-year-old only joined the race just 101 days ago, spent a staggering $600 million of his own money on his campaign. After dropping out, Bloomberg is now backing former Vice President Joe Biden to become the party's nominee and go up against President Trump in November's election. Bloomberg becomes the third Democratic candidate to withdraw and back Biden this week. After Super Tuesday, Biden and Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders are the only two Democratic candidates remaining with a realistic chance of taking on President Trump in November. South Korea's current account surplus dropped sharply in January, but mostly on slowing exports rather than the COVID-19 outbreak. The Bank of Korea said Thursday that the surplus was just over $1 billion in January, down almost $2.3 billion on year. The goods account surplus was $1.93 billion, down $3.8 billion from the same period last year. Exports on a customs clearance basis marked roughly $43 billion in January, down over 12% on year. The central bank largely attributed the drop to fewer working days because of the Lunar New Year holiday and falling prices of South Korea's major export items like semiconductors.
Good morning. According to Korea's traditional calendar, today is Gyeongseop, or the Day of Awakening from Hibernation, due to the warm spring weather. But it will take actually a couple more days for them to fully wake up, as most of us had to deal with freezing temperatures this morning, and will be a freezing one tomorrow morning as well. And sub-zero temperatures return to Seoul after 11 days this morning, but highs will rebound to higher than yesterday, hovering near the seasonal norms, so it should feel slightly milder. Most regions will see highs similar to slightly higher than Wednesday, and unlike yesterday, we will enjoy bright skies all day long. The cold snap should come to an end this weekend, and Sunday is shaping up to be a real mild one, but it seems like southern provinces will have another wet weather on Saturday. That's Korea for you, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
And that's a wrap for us at this hour on Arirang News. We'll be back with more news lineup at noon Korea time. Thanks for watching and goodbye.